But to our top story of the day, as the U.S. fights foreign threats like the Iranian regime abroad, the socialist wing of the Democratic Party threatening to undermine much of what this country stands for. It's getting even bolder here at home. You won't believe what they want to do now. This is fresh off a slate of primary wins across the country, and the Democratic Socialists of America debuted a radical new platform. Listen to this. Policies that would make life in the U.S. nearly unrecognizable. You won't believe these details. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, and joining us today, Kayleigh McGee-White, Fox News contributor, Donna Rotuno, criminal defense attorney, Fox News contributor, co-host of the weekly rap sheet on Fox Nation, and host of Crime and Justice with Donna Rotuno, and Caroline Downey, National Review columnist and Dr. Siegel. Of course, he's a Fox News senior medical analyst, professor of medicine at NYU Langone Health, and author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, The Miracles Among Us. Well, the DSA debuted their new Workers Deserve More program yesterday, with a set of radical new policies that would gut the Constitution, radically transform life in the United States. The document pitches an idyllic future under socialism. Quote, imagine taking a day off from work in a future without capitalism. You work as much as you are able and no more than needed, and you would control your own labor and see it going to good use. It's not just a job to pay the bills. Speaking of bills, you don't really have them anymore. You have no debt. You don't need health insurance. You don't pay a mortgage or have a landlord because comfortable housing is a human right. Just because it isn't easy to imagine now doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make it happen. Wow, the problem is it's failed everywhere it's been tried. Now, new policies in the platform include the abolition of the Senate, the elimination of checks and balances, with the president and the Supreme Court totally replaced, wiped away, and put in place a new executive and judiciary that are subordinate to and chosen by Congress. Amnesty for all immigrants, and a complete defunding of the War Department. Also on the socialist wish list, open borders, free migration, Medicare for all, an end to all deportations, the elimination of cash bail, universal rent control, a 32-hour work week, a wealth tax, and the Green New Deal. DSA leaders, though, insist the program is not as radical as it sounds.
What's so great about the Senate? I mean, I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure the only popular senator is Bernie Sanders, and it's because he ran for president as a Democratic socialist. So, I mean, if we're talking about, like, why would we need a Senate?
I think it sounds so radical, like abolish the Senate, abolish the Supreme Court, like, et cetera, but it's not. Like, those are the things that need to happen in order to have a political system that actually, like, works for working people.
The House of Representatives is more democratic that way. And we just don't see the point of the Senate. Historically, it was meant to serve very wealthy people who owned a lot of land. And that's still a system that we have today.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform. And we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
Wow, so just wipe away the Constitution. Sounds great. Well, it comes as the far left continues to make gains with a slate of primary wins across the country this year. Meanwhile, the DSA has seen its membership explode to 120,000 in recent years. That's up from just over 50,000 in October of 2024 when Zohran Mamdani launched his campaign for New York City mayor. It is hard to know where to begin, but let's begin with the foundation of this country, Kayleigh, and that is the U.S. Constitution. So you eliminate the Senate, Article 1 gone. You eliminate the presidency, Article 2 gone. You eliminate the Supreme Court, Article 3 gone. And we are to trust the naive neophytes here who are pontificating on why our country isn't great and our Constitution?
Right, and the very reason why the founders designed guardrails such as the Senate is to prevent people like that from ever getting power. They're sitting there wondering, well, what's the point of the Senate? It's to prevent you from ever actually abolishing it and from abolishing the Constitution. I think that this is a real threat, though, as radical as it is and as outlandish as it might seem that they were ever able to implement any of these policies. You have to recognize the threat for what it is, because the fact of the matter is that the Democrats are not going to do anything to stop it. And the reason why the DSA is gaining so much traction right now is because it's resonating among young adults my age in particular. They are experiencing a surge in support among young adults who are enamored with ideas such as this, because they are facing real issues, and they think that, you know, quick sound bites and quick fixes such as the ones being proposed here are somehow going to fix the problems that they're facing. facing. The other reason why the DSA is gaining traction, though, is because they actually believe in things. You know, I think about the congressional candidate here in New York, Chevalier. I think she genuinely believes that she could get rid of prisons and get rid of crime entirely if everyone just made enough money. Same thing with Zohran Mamdani. I think that he genuinely believes that he is entitled to the wealth and success of other Americans so that he can redistribute it. You can't say the same thing about establishment Democrats like Chuck Schumer, who's just going to say whatever he has to say and support whatever policy he has to support to stay in power. He's trying to stave off that primary bid from AOC for as long as he possibly can. So it's not a surprise to me that an establishment party that has no meaningful leader, no meaningful agenda, is getting absolutely steamrolled by people who actually have a vision to present, as lunatic as it might be. So I think that that's the threat, and Republicans have to be aware of it and know how to fight it.
I think you're exactly right. I think that's well said. You know, I mentioned Article 1, Article 3 wiped away, not enough for the DSA. Listen to this DSA member on Article 2, the presidency gone.
I mean, every president since the founding of the country has been super evil, but somehow we have like one that is even more evil.
There are no checks to the presidency. There's unitary executive power now. So whenever people are like, oh my God, they want to get rid of the president, I was like, well, I don't know what we would call it in the future. We could call it the head honcho of whatever, you know, like it's like we might not have a president, but what we should have is an executive that's actually chosen democratically and is accountable to the representatives of the people.
Somehow head honcho Abraham Lincoln doesn't ring the bell.
You know, our founding fathers were more clairvoyant than anyone will ever really give them credit for. You know, they show how swift they are, these democratic socialists. They don't even know that it's impossible to abolish the Senate under Article 5 of the Constitution, even with a constitutional amendment. So barring some Bolshevik-style coup d'etat, which I suppose could happen, we still have a system of federalism. And I'd like to ask the states, how do the states feel about losing the representation if we eradicate the Senate? But I think the bottom line here is that these democratic socialists who are claiming, oh, we just want to fill potholes, you know, we just want to expand childcare services, they're lying. Because clearly this is a gateway drug, this rhetoric of an expansive, bloated welfare state. They're just leaving breadcrumbs for a much more insidious ideology. I think back to the long history of the far left United States and how they often hide their extremism in plain view. The guy who ran the Communist Party in the United States for 25 years, he was actually also a Soviet spy, he called what he believed 20th century Americanism. They just slapped a patriotic label on it because it sounded good and a lot of people bought it, but really, of course, what they were advocating for was subverting the country from within. So they might get away with this, honestly, this idea that, oh, if we could just plant seeds of communism by saying we just want to expand social services, we just want health care, like Hassan Piker says. But the reality is that what they want is to overturn the United States as it was originally conceived.
That's right. And Donna, there's this New York Times opinion writer who had a grand idea for Democrats on immigration: firmly enforce the laws on illegal immigration, on crime, support aggressive prosecution on transgender. There are two sexes, men and women. I mean, that's great advice. But as Jennifer Say called him out, you're a Republican and you don't realize it. Those are now the new fault lines. You are either with the DSA or against the DSA. And there's one party calling out the DSA. It's not Democrats.
Well, that's right. And you look at this and you think, what could go wrong, right? To Kayleigh's point, I mean, these people want a world that we no longer recognize, right? This is what they're asking for. And if the Democrats don't stand up against it, the Republicans are going to be the only voice of reason. And people who would have said, I've never been a Republican, are now going to say, I have no other choice. I mean, you look at these things and you think, what could go wrong? Oh, we don't have to work anymore. You can work when you want to. Oh, that sounds lovely. And how do things get paid for? They get paid for by the redistribution of wealth. Well, at some point, there's not going to be any wealth because the people with all the money are going to say, we're done. How did this country ever start to begin with? It started because people said, I'm not taking this, England. And that's what's going to happen, right? At some point, people here are going to say, we're going to go, we're going to start our own island and see you later. And who's going to pay? So this idea that maybe would work for a generation, what happens after it doesn't? And that's what people are not thinking about. I mean, this notion that we can blow this all up. And if you see what they're doing is they're pushing little by little by little, right? What we would have thought was crazy 3 or 5 years ago seems normal now, right? You just get a little bit in, you get a little bit more in, and that's what's happening now. Now they're saying, let's see how far we can push. And if the Democrats, Kayleigh, aren't going to stop it, We have to.
Yeah, the thing is, Dr. Steele, this is not some brand new idea that they came up with. Like, this has been tried in Cuba and Venezuela. We have data points, the Soviet Union, none of which worked.
Look, and Carolyn already answered to this point about the Soviet Union, where my wife grew up. Here's what it was like. You had a little entitlement, but you had no motivation. So you never tried to be anything. You didn't strive to be anything. She's one of the few that did. If you went outside the grand town where they were showing off, you had dirt poor communities all over the Soviet Union. You come to the United States, where it's been a blend of capitalism and democracy for many, many, many years. You go into Ken Langone's office, and he has a very poor-looking office. He says, Mark, I want people to remember where I came from. I don't ever want to forget it myself. We have incentives here to succeed. That's the capitalism piece. And taking it out of one pocket and putting it into another person's pocket. By the way, a right to housing, someone has to build that house, don't they? A right to health care, somebody has to administer that health care. And they have to be happy about it, and they have to be good at it. Rights are earned. They're not given to people.
Yeah, well said. And your wife has a data point on that. And it didn't work out, but let's try it here in the United States and see if we have a different outcome. We will not. All right, President.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.